Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to a new session of Ashram Talks. This is Subhadra joining you from Colombia. In our last class with Simon Haas, we explored the eternal nature of the soul. He explained that what gives life to the body, which is the soul, is eternal. And as the class title itself said, we were never born, and therefore we will never die. So today I'm especially excited because we'll continue with this deep topic and look at one of my favorite verses in chapter 2, which is verse 13. And this is closely related to the previous verse we discussed on Monday. So to guide us through this discussion, we're joined by Haripriya Benedict, coming to us from Electra, Florida. Um, Thank you so much, Haripriya, for being here. I can't thank you enough for this time with me.
I'm very grateful. Thank you, Subhadra. I also love this
Welcome.
verse. It was one of my favorites also. It's a famous verse, actually. So today I will read some of the purport, maybe all, we'll see. But I'll begin just with honoring our teachers, because really, if we didn't have teachers, we would know nothing. So, Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschacha Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Goswami Iti Namine Gauravani Pracharaya Drida Sankalpa Murtaye Krishna Shakti Swarupaya Shri Bhakti Pradaine Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vichar Vishnu Goswami Iti Namine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today especially I felt called to read the purport. So for those of you who are tuning in, there's a few. This is Srila Prabhupada, who I just recited his pranam mantra, like offering respects to him. And he gave us so much. And actually, while I was looking at different lectures that he's given about this verse, 213, he spoke many, many times. There's, I don't know if you get a chance, there's audio archives of his. And when you look them up, you can see everything he's ever, well, I don't know if it's everything, but it's a lot of the classes. And when you look up certain verses like 215 or 216, maybe he'll speak, there'd be like 2 classes on them as he traveled around the world. He would speak in different places the same verse. And this verse, 213, he's spoken on at least 7 times. So it's very significant. And Srila Prabhupada used to say that this philosophy, that we're going into this point, the point that we are not our bodies, actually, is the first lesson in spiritual knowledge. So I'll read it. Dehinosmin yatha dehe komaram yovanam jara tata dehantara praptir dirastatra namuyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from childhood, because some say boyhood, some say childhood, from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. So this is a gorgeous verse. It's very deep, and it talks about how when you were 7, you had a body. When you were 15, you had a completely different body. When you were 25, you again had a whole new body. When you're 35, 40, again, your body's completely different than when you were younger. And then when we're 60, also, we're in a different body. So we see that transition, we see that gradually. And so we've come to think that's it's like growing, the body's growing. But actually, if we can pinpoint, like 15 or 20 year gaps, then we can clearly see those are 2 completely different bodies. So because it's happening gradually, we maybe have less of an awareness. So this verse is using that as an analogy to say, like, here's all these bodies you've already been in. How many bodies, how many forms in this life have you been in? So it's to help people get perspective that if you're in a different body, it's not so shocking. So, and then he says, Dita is a self-realized soul. And sometimes Dita, this on the first word on the last line, Dita, sometimes Dita is translated as sober, someone who's sober. So that means someone who's not illusioned, someone who knows spiritual knowledge, who knows material knowledge, who knows the nature of the soul, the nature of matter, and the nature of the divine, super soul. So Dita is, it's quite a potent word. And my understanding is that our work in this life is to move towards being Dita. It's to move towards being conscious and sober about what's real and what's not real, about what's permanent and what's impermanent. So this verse really dives into it, and I'm going to read a little bit of the purport. So, since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old, it says old man, but old man or woman. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. So you, who you really are, is unchanged. The self that animates this body when you were young, when you're middle-aged, and when you're older, it's the same. And we can perceive this. I think that's something we can perceive. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, so we don't have to take another material body. And I'm going to pause here because I really love this point that he says. So we are going to either take a material body or a spiritual body. So that's an amazing concept, that we don't have to accept these material bodies. And actually, I wanted to say Dehino, which is in the verse, Dehino smin yata dehe. Dehino is saying we've accepted a body. So we've accepted, right? That means we could not accept. We have actually some choice. And we don't need to accept a body. Our desire maybe to enjoy a certain circumstance maybe brought us here on this planet Earth. I like to call this planet, it's a mix between like a rehabilitation center and a school. So it's a school. We're here actually to learn things. And sometimes people share that I came because X, Y, or Z. And whatever their interpretation is, usually you'll see like a desire there. Some desire is the seed. So the soul is desiring something. So maybe we desire to experience, fame like God, or wealth like God, or maybe we desire to be the center of attention, or we desire to be beautiful. We desire to enjoy a certain clout or prestige, reputation. So there's something there. Or maybe we desire to be loved, right? We desire something, some experience. And in the spiritual realm, actually, so if you can imagine for a moment that God is like trillions of times more expansive than us, if we can actually understand that someone who spins globes in orbit, I like to say, like, we do not have the power to keep globes spinning in midair. So someone who has that power, someone who has the power to be within our hearts, and if he's in our hearts, he's in my heart, and he is in your heart, then he's in trillions, or I say trillions, but it's really unlimited. But I want to put some number to it because it's hard to understand the word unlimited. So I know that's not an accurate number, but I'm going to use it. I could say billions of billions. I could say, millions of trillions, but it's this enormous number. If he has the power and the potency to be guiding, to be internally guiding with our intuition, with our internal guidance system, let's say millions of billions of trillions of souls, the depth is, it's tremendous. So that personality, if somebody is that powerful, that huge, that expansive, and we now are living in a world with them, then the attention will not be on us, right? Can we understand that? Like, so imagine that that person is standing right in front of us and there's millions of people around us. Are those millions of people going to attend to that personality, or are they going to attend to us? Are they going to look and talk to or admire or want to give things to or serve or love or, you know, take care of that person or us, right? So for me, this helps me, this concept that if I want to live in the spiritual world, I want to live, some people say heaven, I want to go back to heaven, or in the Vedic text, they say back to Godhead, where God is, right? Back to Godhead. Then something has to shift in my desires. Because if my desire is still, I want to enjoy like this, or I want to be the center of the world in this way, whether it's being loved or appreciated or noticed, or whether it's having, you know, all the things I said, clout, potency, wealth, beauty, strength, all of these things, right? Then God has to create a separate world. And I'll call that planet Earth. He has to create a separate world in which we can experience those things. It won't fit in the spiritual world. We won't get those experiences in the spiritual world. It's not possible, because someone who's so much more tremendously powerful than us is there. So much more tremendously loving than us. So much more, you know, so much tremendously more wealthy than us. So much more knowledgeable than us is there. So the center will not be us. So on planet Earth, we're allowed to be the center of our world. We're allowed to be the center of attention. And so for me, it was very easy to understand, like, if there's a spiritual world and I still have these kinds of desires, I'm not fit to go there. So by choosing to fan the flame of our material desires, I'll call them material desires because it's not a spiritual experience. It's a material experience we're after. So as the spiritual experience is love and service, actually. The spiritual experience is our dharma. So I'll get into dharma for a moment, but this concept for me helped me understand that it's a choice to be here. So here we are in these bodies, dehinosmin yata dehe komaram, small person, komaram yovanam jara, tata dehantara praptir. So this is us going from young to older, then we leave our body, then we go from young to older, then we leave. That's actually the real struggle of life. We are going to die, and yet none of us want to die. Why? Because we're not supposed to die. We're eternal. It's not natural for the soul to die, because the soul doesn't die. So the body is an opportunity to experience whatever we want to create. It's an opportunity to experience being the center of our worlds, being the lead actor on our stage. It's an opportunity. And it won't satisfy us. No matter how good the play is, you know, like I'll quote Shakespeare, all the world's a stage and we are all players, right? So no matter how good our play is, it won't satisfy the self, because the self is spirit. So we're a spirit soul within this body. And that's the first lesson of spiritual life, is that we're not these bodies. So if we're not these bodies, and we never die, actually, we don't ever die. Only the body dies. And then we get a new costume. And then that costume, when it's old and worn out, then we get a new costume to experience whatever we want as many times as we want. Or when we're actually ready to say, stop. I've had enough. I've had enough of birth, old age, disease, and death. Because when we have a body, when we take the body, those are guaranteed. We'll have some disease, we'll get some sickness, some cold, some flu, maybe something more severe. We'll often get old age, depends on if death comes first, but we'll get death. We'll get birth, birth is not a pleasant experience, I can imagine. So the real problems of life are birth, death, old age, and disease. These are problems that cause a low level grade of anxiety in all of us. And either we ignore it and we like push it down and we don't think about it. And we try to like cover that over with living our play. Or we look at it and we go, okay, this is causing me anxiety. So Dita, I'll come back to Dita too. Dita is someone who knows. So in one of the lectures that Srila Prabhupada gave on this verse, excuse me. He spoke about Dita is someone who has no anxiety. So when you have knowledge, you don't have any mental disturbances. So spiritual knowledge is actually what frees us from misconceptions and thus frees us from pain and suffering. Knowledge of who we really are, this Bhagavad Gita, this spiritual knowledge, is what frees us from the misconception that we are these bodies. All of our suffering comes from identifying with these bodies, the misidentification. I am this body. So if I look in the mirror and I think, I am 44, I am a woman, I am Haripriya Dasi, those are misconceptions. And I can reinforce that, or I can change my consciousness and I can say, I'm in a body of a 44-year-old. I'm in the body of a woman. I'm in the body of Haripriya Dasi's form. And who am I? I'm something else. I'm something more powerful, more satisfied. I'm something more potent. And my desires, my actual desires, are what's going to lead me to the next life, what's going to lead me to the next body, to the next experience. And so we want to direct our desires. So when Prabhupada said the first spiritual lesson is really deeply understanding that we're not this body, I don't think it's so simple that I can just be like, oh, I understand now. So a lot of us might say, oh, I know this. Yeah, I know I'm not my body. I'm a soul, right? It's quoted. We're not human beings having spiritual experiences. We are spiritual beings having human experiences. So that gives a taste of what I'm pointing to. And to have real dita, real depth of realization, self-realized is how it's translated here. Self-realized soul, knowing the self, knowing the soul. So to be a dita, to move towards being a dita, means also what we spend time with. So if we spend time with people who only have the consciousness that we are these bodies, then we're going to be impacted by that company. If we spend time with spiritual people, spiritual texts like the Bhagavad Gita, spiritual sound vibrations like the Hare Krishna mantra or other mantras that have the names of the divine, if we spend our time with teachers that have realized this knowledge, I have not realized this knowledge. I attempt to spend time with sadhus. Sadhu is adita. Sadhu Sangha means spending time with those who have this knowledge, spending time with those who've realized this knowledge. And they walk planet Earth. You can find them. If you're hungry for their company, be sincere and pray to God, and they will come in your life. You will find these people. So Prabhupada is one of those people. And Srila Prabhupada used to say, he's in his books, so you can read and spend time with Prabhupada. He actually spoke about the person Bhagavat, the person and the book is the same. So God and speaking about God is the same. So there's so much potency in hearing the words of Ditas. So Srila Prabhupada is Dita. So his words are there to guide us. And he has so many. So many books, endless books. You couldn't probably read them if you started from now on, we probably couldn't read all of his books and deeply. Well, some people might if that's all they do. I don't believe in my lifetime I will read all of his books, but I'll study and try to go deeper in each one that I do read. So yeah, I wanted to speak about that. Dita is very potent and alive for me because Krishna doesn't want us to suffer. Actually, I wanted to mention that. God doesn't want us to suffer, see. So he comes here again and again to try to help wake us up. He sends his spiritually realized sons like Jesus Christ, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Vaibhava Puri Maharaj. He sends these children that know and love him to teach us. And he doesn't want us here. He wants us to go to the spiritual world. So then we get to choose, do we want a spiritual body in our next life? Or do we want another material body? And based on our actions in this life, that will determine our consciousness, our mind. Where our mind is when we leave, that determines where we go. So if our mind is thinking, oh, I really wished I had had this, or I really wished I had done that, or I really wish I had enjoyed like that person did, or that, then God will give you that. He'll give you an opportunity to create that experience for yourself. Here's another birth. Here's another body. If that's what you want, go after it. So for me, this Dehino Smin, we don't have to take this body. We can transform our desires. And it takes looking at them, really looking at them and understanding why. So I want to do like a little thought exercise, and maybe you won't do it right now, but you could write down these questions and do it in your own time. Anyone who wants, I used to teach Yoga Nidra. It's like a relaxation technique, and it replenishes your body. And I'm happy to send it to you for anyone who, maybe I can even post the link below. But of the recordings, so we do a body scan, and then after that, I ask you to really be clear. What do you want? Look at your desires. What do you really want? And once you've got that, write it down. Write down what you want, no matter what it is. No judgment. It could be like, I want $1 million. I don't know what Haripriya is talking about. I know that if I had $1 million, I would be happy. And I will say they've done studies actually that below $100,000, incremental wealth does bring happiness. From $0 to 100,000. And I don't remember if that study was like 100,000 in the bank or 100,000 a year is a salary. I don't remember, but I know they did studies that up to $100,000 incrementally, we do experience more happiness, and that's because we're eliminating more suffering. We're eliminating anxiety. We're eliminating, fear. Like, oh, I can't pay my bills. So there's suffering involved with lack, with lacking. So when I speak, I don't want to ever imply that, oh, if you've got not enough money, you could just be happy. I mean, you could be, but that's not what I'm trying to say. We all need a certain amount of money to feel stable and to feel secure and safe. And what I'm talking about is after that. So after we have that, we have this idea that, oh, if I become, if I have millions of dollars, or if I have, tens of millions or hundreds of millions, or if I get 1,000 followers or 2,000 followers or 100,000 followers, or it kind of never ends. That thirst never ends. You can always expand more and more your desire. So the question is, what do you want? Whatever it is, it could literally be something very material. Start there. Start where you are. Write that down. And then ask yourself the question, how come? Why do I want this? And with no judgment, with really the self-discovery is the point. Like going deeper, what do you want underneath that? So I even sometimes close my eyes. I say, okay, let's say, I want my own office. Maybe I share my office with my husband. I want my own office. Okay, why? Why do I want my office? Oh, because I want to create like sacred space that doesn't change. I want to, control the elements in my office. Okay, how come? Then I ask myself, I write it down. How come? I write down, how come? Then I ask the same question, how come that? And we can do this like 5 times, 10 times, but you keep peeling it back until you get to an essence. And I'll share a little bit more. Like, so if I say, oh, I want to control the space. Why? Because I want to create sanctity, right? Okay, so why? Why do I want to feel sanctity? Oh, because I want to resonate with the nature of my soul. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, why? How come? Why do I want to resonate with my soul? Because I want to feel aligned. Okay. So then I can actually connect with that experience right now. I can literally say, like, I am aligned. I can connect with that quality within my soul, within myself. It's not positive self-talk, right? It's not saying like, oh, let's say I'm overweight, and I just say, I'm skinny, I'm skinny, I'm skinny, I'm skinny. It's connecting to something that is true right now. I am aligned already. So I could be in an office, chaotic office with stacks of papers here, my husband's desk there, or I could be there, and I can still connect to I am aligned, right? I am aligned. So in that same way, we can look at our material desires and we can peel them back and really get to the core. And often the core ends up being an experience. And often it's an experience of the soul. It can be often like, I'm loved. I want love. So then connect to that. You already are loved. God loves you so much. He's volunteered to be in your body and witness all the crazy things we go through, all the crazy choices we make. And he's your company. He's there sitting right next to you in your heart space. And he's just waiting. He's spending his time there waiting. He's there present for you so that when you turn in, he's there. So you're loved. You're loved more deeply than you can imagine. So then you can connect. Oh, what I wanted was love. Like, say, I want to be a famous actress. Why? Because I want attention. Why? Because I want to feel loved. Okay, so connect to that now. I'm loved. Because some people go their whole life and they go through that process and they achieve their goal and they still don't feel the feeling that was actually the whole point. So I encourage you to look at, become a Dita, really look at the material knowledge, right? This is just about the material. This is just about what you want materially and peeling it back to understand. Usually it's a soul experience. So maybe it's, I want to be seen. Okay, I am seen. God sees everything I do with love and compassion and acceptance. I am seen. So that's just like a thought exercise I thought I would offer today to help us see our desires, get deeper in clarity about what our desire really is. So you keep asking, how come, until there's nothing. You're like, that's it. That's the bottom line, right? And usually the bottom line is a soul experience. So you can already experience that now, which just helps us in this planet, on this planet, while we're going through so many ups and downs and struggles. We can connect to our soul's qualities, right? Start from the being, and then that will inform our doing, our lives. And then Dita also has spiritual knowledge. So Dita has the spiritual knowledge, and you're getting the spiritual knowledge by hearing Bhagavad Gita. So keep hearing. Imagine if you heard Bhagavad Gita every day, 30 minutes every day, for 5 years later, where will your consciousness be? So much more potent, so much more awake to what is real and what is not real. And you'll feel that. Like, I know I'm not going to die. It'll come a time when you're like, it's not just a thought. It's that you know one day you'll look at your body and you'll be able to say, that was never me, actually. And you could start that even by looking in the mirror now and saying, this is my temple, this is my body, this is my home, this is my house, it's where I live. I'm inside of there. So we can shift our consciousness that way. And we can shift our consciousness by reading spiritual knowledge. So thank you. I didn't get very far in the purport, so maybe you'll want it. So I've spoken before, but like there's the verse, word for word, what's thousands of years old, what Krishna spoke verbatim. And then there's the expansion of that by the speaker. And this is the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and is the only one that has the separation. Oops, there. The Bhagavad Gita as it is the only Bhagavad Gita that separates the ancient text to the elaboration from the author. Usually the interpretation, the elaboration is mixed in with that ancient text. So thanks to Srila Prabhupada, who's also called A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, we have that. We can look at the ancient, we can look at his purport, and he actually had 2 pages of a purport. I only got to a little bit, but I wanted to start to dive in there. Thank you, Subhadra, for the pleasure and the honor to talk about this beautiful verse.
Thank you, Haripriya. That was actually an amazing exercise we could all try when we have some sort of time. And, that shows that how important the mind is. Because, well, we may think we're not this body, and we may understand we're not this body, but it's more difficult to understand that we're not the mind. That's something my husband tells me frequently. Like, okay, you can say I'm not this body, and that's kind of easier to understand, but I'm not this mind. That's even more difficult. And actually, the mind which guides us to another body after death. Is that what you meant when you
Yeah,
said like?
in the Bhagavad Gita later on, Krishna will say that just like an aroma, just like a smell is carried by the wind, we are carried by our mind, our thoughts. So our mind is actually with us for lifetimes, I will say. So actually the work that we do this lifetime to shift the mind and direct it will be of deep benefit because it will go with us. So I actually believe in like healing. I'll say like I'm into self-development, not just spiritual knowledge, because I've seen people just dive into spiritual knowledge and not look at their material concepts, their material beliefs, like maybe the belief I'm not loved. That's going to impact your relationship with God. So let's address both the material knowledge and the spiritual knowledge so that yeah, because your mind is going to go with you. So we're not our minds. That's powerful. I also like to say we are the directors of our mind, right? So it's even the mind is the computer, and we are the owner of the computer. So if we just whatever the mind thinks, we go along with it, then the computer's running the show. That's obviously not what we want. So for me, it's more potent to say instead of saying I'm not my mind, which is powerful because if you say I'm not my mind, you might hear a thought and go, I'm not going to take that seriously. I'm not my mind. I'm not that thought, right? So it can be powerful, and for me, it's powerful to say I get to direct my mind, right? And the mind wants shelter, actually. Like chanting japa, the mind wants that shelter, even though it might fight and go like, I want to go here. No, I don't want to chant right now. I want to, go to the ice cream shop, whatever, right? But it actually once it starts to hear spiritual topics and hear the holy name, it says, oh, there's something there that's pacifying. It's like a mantra meditation. I was told from this psychologist. She said it's like a jacuzzi for the mind. It's like you're just relaxing in your jacuzzi. You're Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So we can take care of our mind, treat our mind nicely. And I only say that not maybe your husband does treat his mind nicely, but I've heard other people who are practitioners of bhakti kind of like, beat your mind with a shoe. Okay, yes, that has its place, that concept, time, place, circumstance. And if we nourish our mind, then our mind becomes our best friend.
Thanks, Haripriya, once again. And well, I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next class. Here we have a comment from Pauline. Uh, yes, thanks for the amazing class. Excellent for a beginner. Actually, it is. And I think it suits for everyone. Actually, it's very practical advice you gave us today.
Thank you so
So
much, Colleen. I'm glad I'm serving in some way. That's my prayer. We can
thanks
all
so much.
hear,
Yeah.
read, and share. You can share. You can read Prabhupada's books and share one thing you understand with someone. I'm not special that I'm sharing. It's enriching to me to share. So thank you for letting me have a platform to share.
Of course, yes. Thanks so much. And well, see you in the next class. And well, for all of our audience, thank you so much for being here. Remember that you can watch this episode again on our YouTube channel, Ashram Talks English, and of course, catch up on all our past episodes as well. Remember, we have live sessions every Monday at 7:30 p.m. and Thursday at 8 p.m. At 8 a.m. Sorry, not 8 p.m. 8 a.m. Feel free to subscribe, of course, and hit the bell icon to get notified when we go live. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram for more content. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comment or DM us on Instagram because our speakers will be really happy to respond. So thank you so much, everyone. See you on Monday. Goodbye.